let's dive into the first game we're going to talk about. Maybe the biggest game of the weekend. That was number 8 Ole Miss beating number 13 Oklahoma 34-26. Let's go over the highest graded player, starting off with the Ole Miss Rebels. Their highest graded player was wide receiver Winston Watkins, 82.9. Another wide receiver here in Caden Lee, 76.4. Prince Will Umanmielen, 75.8. The edge rusher, another edge rusher here in Suntaran Perkins with a 73 grade. Jalen Braxton, the cornerback, 71.9. And Trinidad Chambliss with an 82 grade against what is an elite Oklahoma defense. All right, now for Oklahoma, their highest grade players in the loss. Running back Xavier Robinson, 78.6. Defensive tackle Grayson Halton, 74.8. Another D tackle here, and David Stone, 74.6. Cornerback Cortland Guillory, 73.7. Another cornerback here in Eli Bowen, 72.5. And John Mateer with only a 53.3 grade in the loss. Dalton, what told the story in this game?
I think to me, this was the best performance of the season for Ole Miss run defense, aside from the one Xavier Robinson touchdown run, the 65-yarder that got Oklahoma back in the game. Their run defense was outstanding. You take out that run, and Oklahoma had 24 carries for 81 yards the rest of the game, and this is something I've talked about repeatedly with Oklahoma. They struggle to run between the tackles. They struggle to run with their backs. Again, Robinson had the one long run, but not much otherwise. Torrey Blaylock didn't get anything going. They kept John Mateer in the pocket and made him beat them north and south, and I think that was really a big difference because right now, especially with Mateer, it looks like he's either still not 100% or just not in rhythm after missing a game earlier this season with the injury with his thumb. You make John Mateer beat you with his arm. And I know there's been a narrative around this Oklahoma team that, John Mateer can just beat you any way he wants. But if this team can't run the football, and that's supposed to be their greatest strength with this backfield, a loaded backfield coming into the season, then they get one-dimensional, they have a lot of problems. They really do. John Mateer has not looked good since coming back from this injury throwing the football. So the fact that Ole Miss had a season-high 81.7 run defense grade as a team and only allowed one designed explosive run, the Robinson touchdown, I think that was a big factor in their success on defense in this game. You got good performances from several players. Prince Will Umanmielen off the edge. Suntaran Perkins off the edge was good. The linebackers, TJ Daugherty and Jaden Yates, they were really good. I think just a team effort here in run defense, and a similar theme that we've seen all year with Oklahoma. They're very inconsistent running the football, especially against the better teams on the schedule.
Yeah, so the trenches for Ole Miss were outstanding because the defensive line, like you mentioned before, the run defense was great. How about the offensive line for Ole Miss as well? Only a 12% pressure rate allowed against Oklahoma. Mentioned before in the preview, Oklahoma entered this week with the highest pressure rate in the country on defense at 47%, and they could not get after Trinidad Chambliss in this game. And Ole Miss, meanwhile, they were 5th in pressure rate allowed on offense going into the week at 21%. It's really strength on strength for Ole Miss and Oklahoma, and Ole Miss won this battle with their offensive line. A 76.2 pass blocking grade in this game, 0 sacks and only 2 hits allowed all game. 2 of their guards, Delano Townsend and Patrick Kutas, they were not beaten once out there. Oklahoma blitzed Chambliss on 30 of his 49 dropbacks, and Ole Miss handled it beautifully with only 4 pressures allowed as well. So, Oklahoma, like I said before, has an elite pass rush, but they were stonewalled by the Rebels in this game.
If you play this Oklahoma team and you only give up 1 sack, and I believe they came into this game leading the nation in sacks, is that right? I believe they led the nation in sacks coming into this game.
And that sack was on Chambliss. It wasn't even on the offensive line.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you're talking about, but any result you get to where you play Oklahoma and you only have 1 sack allowed, that's a great day against that pass rush, R. Mason Tomlin and those guys. And you just mentioned over a 60% blitz rate from Brent Venables. He was trying. It just wasn't happening. Lane Kiffin, great stuff in the clutch with the play calls, and Chambliss was just outstanding. Look, I thought it was a great bounce back for him. Coming off the Georgia loss where he missed a lot of throws, had an opportunity to win that game, and got shut down in the fourth quarter. This was some bounce back on the road for Ole Miss, and the way it sets them up for the rest of the season, you really like their playoff chances because of it.
I'll just go right to my most impressive. That is Trinidad Chambliss in this one, because yes, the offensive line was very good for Ole Miss in this one, but also Trinidad Chambliss did a phenomenal job protecting his offensive line too. An average time to throw of 2.33 seconds in this game, an 80.8 passing grade. He threw for 315 yards, 4 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. Like I said, did a great job of mitigating Oklahoma's blitzes and finding quick answers with his hot routes in this game. That's why I said before, Trinidad Chambliss going into the week was one of the highest graded quarterbacks in the country against pressure and against the blitz because of how decisive he is as a passer, and he was incredibly decisive in this one against Oklahoma. He also ran for 53 yards on the ground as well. Just a massive, massive performance by Trinidad Chambliss. And now, Dalton, you look at Ole Miss and their schedule. All they got to do is win 3 of their final 4 games, I would say, to make the playoff. And they play South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. They should be easily favored in all 4 of those games.
I absolutely agree. They're a better team than all 4 of those teams. They just got to hold up in the trenches, especially if they do it as well as they did in this game. They can win all those games. They can finish 11-1 with just the loss to Georgia. And honestly, we talk about playoff, but they finished 11-1 with just that one loss to Georgia. They might find themselves in the SEC title game. Need still a little bit of help there, but certainly they've got a really good chance to win their last 4. And Chambliss, look, he's been their MVP. And the only other thing I'm going to say with Trinidad Chambliss, if we don't have enough proof now, do not take him off the field. Do not take him. I don't mind the Kwan Lacey Wildcat thing. And look, Austin Simmons, talented player, shown it in the past. We've seen it in flashes. Do not take Trinidad Chambliss off the field for even a single snap.
For massive plays, too.
Massive game-changing plays. Simmons, we saw, him for 3 or 4 snaps?
Yeah.
And those 3 or 4 snaps really could have cost Ole Miss. This guy is your quarterback, Lane Kiffin. There's no controversy. There never has been. We declared this after a week or 2 of Chambliss that this is not a controversy and it should not be made one. Leave him on the field in every big moment, and he's going to give you a chance to win.
I remember we were at that restaurant with your mom yesterday, and every single time Austin Simmons went in the game, you're like, "What are we doing?"
It just did not. There's no reason.
Yeah.
It's that part where if it was something like we saw Mississippi State do this with where it's Blake Shapen and Kamario Taylor, and Taylor adds a different if it's something different that guy adds, sure. What does he add that Chambliss can't already do?
Yeah.
Is the question. So and taking the offense out of rhythm and taking points on the board. That's the only thing I ask for Ole Miss. FAU legend Lane Kiffin, please just leave Trinidad Chambliss on the field for 100% of the snaps.
And I get
That's all we need.
I get it. It sucks that, Austin Simmons lost his job because of injury. But Chambliss took over and it's been unreal.
So did Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just happens sometimes. Yeah, it happens sometimes, and I know it sucks, but it comes to a point where you're like, hey man, you gotta play Trinidad Chambliss the whole time. They still won the game though, Dalton as well. Chambliss is phenomenal, but also one of his star receivers was also great in this game.
I'll tell you what, I don't know if we can call Ole Miss the best receiving core in the country, but it's probably the deepest because it feels like somebody every week. It's DeJon Stribling last week. It's Caden Lee, and he had another good game. It's several tight ends this week in the second half especially. How about, I know he only had 4 catches, but 111 yards. Winston Watkins and the plays that he made, those 4 catches, I could argue, directly led to 13 points for Ole Miss in the second half of this game. 2 third-down catches in the third quarter that set up a field goal. The crosser early in the fourth that set up the go-ahead touchdown. That was an explosive play that set up that touchdown. The go ball right after Oklahoma fumbles a punt. It looked like Oklahoma had the momentum. They fumbled away around midfield, and then Chambliss still has to make one more play. The go ball to Watkins, that was probably Chambliss' best throw of the day, that set him up for another field goal to put him up 8. A short amount of impact with just the 4 catches, but those 4 catches were a huge difference in this game. And the fact that Ole Miss can just keep rolling out a million receivers and tight ends and all these guys that can catch the football, it makes Chambliss' life a lot easier because he can just go, all right, which one of you is open? Because you're all talented and you can all make plays. Watkins was really good even in short work here.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the next game, real quickly, how much of a lock do you think Ole Miss is right now to make the playoff?
Probably. I mean, if you're even just telling me the chances they win 3 out of 4, would we say 90%? I mean, it might be 90% that they win at least 3 out of 4, and they're obviously going to be favored in all 4. I mean, and we're going to get to the next game too here with Texas A&M. Those 2 teams, boy, they're in really good position right now, and you feel like they should be favored in the rest of their games.
And for Oklahoma now, 2 losses on the year. Now all of a sudden you have that 4 games coming up. Was it Tennessee,
LSU, Alabama, Missouri? I think is the 4.
That's it.
I mean, this Tennessee game next week with both of them with 2 losses, we might be calling that an eliminator.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma, if they can't get their offense together, they're not gonna win even 3 out of 4 of those games. They need to get there because all of their games against real non-group of 5 FCS teams, they've scored 26 or less.
Yeah.
Just doesn't get it done consistently on a week. It's just an inconsistent offense that they got to find it. And if they don't find it against Tennessee, a team who can really score, that might be it next week.
And
it's dire now for Oklahoma.
And I know that no 3-loss team made it as an at-large last year. Oklahoma might be able to, considering how hard their schedule is. But Dalton, I mean, you look at the rest of the conferences right now, there are so many teams that are undefeated or 1 loss right now. Like, I don't know if a 3-loss team can get in this year, no matter how hard the schedule is.
It's starting to feel like, especially with the way some other conferences are shaking out, like you
the
mentioned.
Big 12, dude. It's crazy.
Right. Even a Notre Dame at 10-2 is still feeling like they're on shaky ground. I know it's Notre Dame and they've played great offensive football, but we got some teams who are just not losing yet. They're refusing right now, and that's what you got and this is what the urgency that the playoff has added, that every single week is an add to the resume. And if you are even in the Big 12 or the ACC and you find your way to 11-1, and there's some candidates for that, it's going to be hard to keep you out of there.
Like, there's legitimately, there is a scenario where there are 3 11-1 Big 12 teams this year.
There's a scenario where there's 3 that finish in the ACC. You could get you could get Georgia Tech possibly a 12-0. You can mess around and do that. Virginia and Miami still, because they don't play either of those teams. You could get an 11-1 Miami not in the ACC title game. That's entirely on the table too.
Yeah, we were at that playoff committee mock selection. I am saying right now, I do not envy them this year. It's going to be madness.
It's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be a nightmare for them to figure it out. But we can't wait for that. The first playoff ranking comes out in a couple weeks, actually. So we're very excited to see what they come up with in a couple weeks. But massive win nonetheless for Ole Miss, who should be climbing in the top 10 right now after beating Oklahoma.